But let's see, it's 2:31. Let's start it out and go up to file in a new library. I'm sorry. Just put Comm 429 labs, LABS. Save. And then go back up to file again. And this time go new event. And then put work tape WT, yeah, 14. Now highlight and do a right click and go to import media. And scroll down. Yeah, work tape 14. Is that all? Yeah, that's, oh, that's, see the Comm 429. See the arrow to the right, to the left, open that up. There we go. Now scroll down. Keep scrolling. Let's go down. There we go. 14, highlight that, import, bingo. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna see if we can get, that's 29, yeah. So, I'll show you. There goes 29, 002. Bingo. I think that's right.
Sweeping support, and you're talking about congressional.
Let me see what I have here.
What he said, and again, the vote is not tomorrow or today, and yeah, we face some certain realities, as I'm sure you understand, in the United States Senate, which is that you can't name a post office without 60 votes these days, the way that the filibuster is used, and that was meant to be an exaggeration. But practically, in principle, it has broad public support across the political spectrum. So all the provisions within it, and in the past, the provisions within it have had both Democratic and Republican support. So we're confident that
Exam today, I'm going to, and this class is nice and small. I'm going to get you, you're going to do lab assignment number 3, so that way you don't have to worry about it any, after this, and that way you only have lab assignment number 4 to do. So, so housekeeping items. So today we're going to have the midterm exam, but before we do the midterm exam, we are going to do lab assignment number 3, and also we're going to. And my bad. There were a few things that we needed to go over for the midterm, and we didn't. And so before we get them, I give you the midterm. I'm going to give you a review. And I'm going to basically give you the answers, okay? So plus you'll get the information as well. So let's start the starting the lab, and I'll let Victor be the pilot since he's in the driver's cockpit, in the pilot seat. Leon, if you want to turn around, you can just watch what they're. So with the lab assignment number 3 is basically to isolate two sound bites, and then utilize an external cutaway and an internal cutaway to cover the jump cut. So I'm going to let Victor basically go into the. Actually, at first, let's go back to File, please, and go New Project, and just put cutaway drill. And put cutaway drill, then hyphen, and then put lab number 3. Great. So that was it. So drag your cursor. You'll see your playhead. I'm sorry, the red play right there. Just take that down watch your time code. Take that down. Take that down to about 30 seconds. We just want to give ourselves a little boom right there. That's fine. So I want you to go into that clip there with that's Jay Carney. That was President Obama's first, or was it his second? I think it was his second press secretary. So just go into the clip. Just take your cursor into the clip there. Just click on it. Yeah, and now just hit play.
You won't get into any of the specifics of what's going on here. We know that we've all been reporting that U.S. drone has been involved, that there's U.S. involvement in this attack, that this is American. Help us understand why you're not sharing any more detail.
Again, I'm not going to get into the circumstances of Alaki's death.
So we'll get in with.
We are asked questions like that all the time.
So the NQ will be, again, we're not going to get into Lockheed's death. First thing, when you're, you want to, first of all, you want to check what we call the traffic on your system. And that means you want to check your audio level, 1. So I noticed that the audio level is in the red. So if you go over here to your inspector and you actually have it up, you can just hit play for a second.
Our response is the same.
I'm just going to bring it down. It's at 0 dB now. That's the default.
Around the world, whether it's in Pakistan or Yemen, in taking the fight to Al Qaeda, and that cooperation.
And if you remember on your homework, you wanted to peak it about a -6.
In degrading Al Qaeda, and by we I mean collectively with our partners.
And so because I adjusted it and noticed that the red is gone now. See, the red indicates this is your energy plot, and the red indicates that you're clipping, you're over-modulating. So now what I've done, because we adjusted the audio while the clip was still in the browser, which means that I've adjusted the audio for the entire clip. So and you can do it either way. So you can adjust the audio for the entire clip, and then put it down on the timeline, or you can put the clip on the timeline and then adjust the audio. You'll find yourself doing it both ways, really, because once you get it on the timeline, depending on what clip you have in relationship to it, you might want to adjust your audio levels. But you do have that ability. So if he goes back now, you can hit J for reverse.
Pakistan or Yemen in taking the fight to Al Qaeda, and that cooperation takes many different forms. It's vital to the success that we've had.
Let's actually begin with this quick.
Al Qaeda and
hit J again. He goes back at double speed. Yeah, hit pause and hit play.
American. Help us understand why you're not sharing any more detail.
Again, I'm not going to get into.
Okay, pause it. Now I'm going to show you how to get into a word. It's when you're particularly in a news environment, which is I always like to use an analogy of being like a fighter pilot, because shit comes at you so fast that you really have to be comfortable with your system, comfortable with your the ergonomics, you as a human integrating with the technology. So, and invariably, you know, when you look at a script or you're working with a producer, they always want to get it as tight as possible, you know, so it'll be like, you know, they don't want the, they want the. This is relatively easy. So what I'm going to show you, this is like scratching if you were using, being, you know, doing a DJ. I know the DJ, you know, the new DJ systems, they don't even have, you know, the media is all filed, and you're sitting there virtually scratching as if you actually were scratching a record when you're not. So you're pretty much doing the same thing here. So his first thing, his first word is again.
Again.
So I'm gonna go right up to that first syllable of again.
Again.
Boom. I'm gonna, you know, K is forward, K is pause, L is forward, and J is reverse. And that's on any keyboard. If it's, you know, interfacing with Final Cut Pro or some nonlinear software. So what I'm going to do now, I have one finger over the K key, and then I'm going to engage the J key, which is reverse, and that's going to make that go backwards. And I'm going to hear it going backwards. And when I know that I'm in front of the word, I'm going to pause it.
Hey.
Boom. I'm going to hit I's for in, always for out. So now I think I'm good, but I'm just going to hit play just to make sure in case I just got lucky.
Again,
I did get lucky. That's skill. That's not luck.
I'm going to get into the circumstances of Alaki's death. I would simply say that we are asked questions like that all the time, and our response is the same.
Okay, so I'm going to get out of it.
And our response is the same.
Boom. That's out. So I got my in, my out. Now I simply want to go over here to my edit status, and it's that third from the right little computer, fourth from the right little computer icon. I want all because I want to bring down the audio and the video for this clip. Now this what I'm about to tell you now will be on your midterm exam today, so remember it. The shortcut for an insert or edit, the shortcut for an insert edit is W on the keyboard, okay? The shortcut for an insert edit is W on the keyboard. Now the insert edit is when you've got two clips already on the timeline and you just wanted to insert a clip between those two. That's why they call it an insert. But because we don't have any, you know, the timeline is fresh. We don't have any. We're just starting the project, and we don't have anything on the timeline. It doesn't make a difference which way you put the first clip on the timeline. So, Victor, if you hit the W key, and bingo, there's our clip.
And our response. Our response is the same.
Boom, it was the same. So now I don't need to, I can mark an I for in there, but I don't need to mark an I because, you know, wherever the playhead is, that's where the next edit is going to start anyway. I'll let you know. So now I'm going to go in here and I can see where I made that, I can see where that clip come from right there, the nice little white triangle rectangle. So now I'm just going to go just to the right of that, and I'm just going to pick up another soundbite.
We cooperate with partners around the world, whether it's in Pakistan or Yemen, in taking the fight to Al Qaeda, and that cooperation takes many different forms. It's vital to this.
Now, I'm just picking up a new idea that kind of would flow with what we got out of
So at least what helps.
So he says it's vital. Again, he's making it easy for me, but he's pausing again. But I'm going to do my little scratch trick again.
It's vital.
So I'm right on that first syllable. It's again one finger over the K key, one finger over the J key. I'm going to engage the J key, which is reverse. I'm going to hear that syllable go backwards. I might, you know, these arrows here, one frame left, one frame back, one frame forward. So I might just give myself a frame or two. Hit in, hit I for in.
It's vital to the success that we've had in degrading Al Qaeda, and by we I mean collectively with our partners, and that effort continues.
Boom, nice cogent thought. Again, so I can hit W again, but this time D is simply saying I want to place that clip on the timeline. D is just a what we call a replace edit or an overwrite edit, because normally you can also use the D shortcut if you've got media already on your timeline and you want to be able to simply put something over that. You can utilize the D key. So Victor, if you hit the D key, bingo. So we've got everybody see we've got 2 sound bites. If we go back past the sound bite, and we're into the first sound bite, you'll be able to see the jump cut.
We're asked questions like that all the time, and our response is the same. It's vital to the success that we've had
Boom.
in.
So there's the jump cut.
And our response is the same. It's vital to the success.
Now what I can do is I'm gonna do Command Z to undo that edit, because I noticed that I'm clipping the last word of the first edit.
And our response is the same.
Boom. Okay. So now Victor, do the D key again, please. Now it should be a little cleaner. Go back into the first clip.
That all the time, and our response is the same. It's vital to the success that we've had.
Now, if you didn't see the jump cut, you never know that we have manipulated what he said. He said something between those 2 clips. That's what a jump cuts, and you can see the jump. That's a pretty severe jump.
Is the same. It's vital to the success.
So I'm going to want to cover that. So again, there's 2 types of cutaways. Remember, there's an internal cutaway, which features the subject of the jump cut, which is him. Then there's an external cutaway, which goes away from the subject of the jump cut. So we're going to try the internal cutaway first. The internal is a little more challenging because he's going to be in the cutaway. So what does that mean? That means I might have to match action, because whatever, this is the 6 camera, this is the head-on camera, and whatever, when I go to the cutaway, if he had his hand up in the air, when he goes to the cutaway, he needs to have his hand in the air, because he's going to be in that shot. So you want to maintain continuity. It's like a match cut or a match edit. So the other thing that you want to do is obviously this is the audio edit right there. Where the jump is. Boom, you can see his head move. So right there, I say I'm going to call that 41 seconds straight up. 41 and 00, meaning no frames. When you lay a cutaway in, you want to lay it in about 15 frames before your audio edit. That way, the audience is going to be distracted, because they're going to get new visual information before there's a change in the audio information. Even though the audio that audio edit is smooth, nobody's never going to know that wasn't his original, flow. But again, just to kind of help the whole, and it's an illusion. You're playing a trick on the audience basically when you lay a cutaway in. So I know that's 41 seconds straight up on the timeline time code. I'm just simply going to scooch back 15 frames. How many frames in a second? How many frames in a second? And we'll be on the exam today. 30 frames in a second. Unless it's, and I didn't say on the exam whether it was HD or SD, standard definition. So if you don't have that as a caveat, it's HD or SD, assume that it is SD, which means that it's 30 frames in a second. Okay? So I'm 15 frames before that edit. So now I'm going to go up and I'm going to find an internal edit, and the internal edit is going to have him in it.
I got a question. You said, so we were at what, 41?
Exactly. Yeah, we were at 41 and straight up, 41 and 00. I went back 15 frames, which is 40 and 15. Because if I add 15 more frames, I'll be at 41 0 0. Because there's 30 frames in a second.
Yes. Okay.
So these are the internal edits, internal cutaways, because again, it's that alternate camera angle, and there's Jay in the shot. So I'm going to find a piece. That's Jay Tapper. Yeah, that's who I work with.
Really?
Was,
That's why he's in the shot, because this was ABC. He worked for ABC at the time.
Prior to this.
yeah, well,
So now I got that over the shoulder shot. Jay's hands are on the podium, so there's no problem with matching the hand action. But he's, he changed, he paused when he finished that first sound bite, and then so I'm going to see if I can kind of fake that by making him start up.
planes headed to the today,
See how he does that
headed to the United States today.
Boom. So I'm going to use that, but in order to match it down here, I want to go back 15 frames, and that'll be 39:50:02. 15 frames. 15 minus 7 is 2. Boom, right there. I'm going to mark the end on the source, and I only want this jump cut to be about 2 seconds. So I'm just going to say 1001, 1002, boom. And mark it out. I don't have to worry. I've got my playhead where I want the lay in, the cutaway, so I don't have to worry about an out on this side because I've got it in and an out on the source side, on the clip side. The other thing I want to do is, Victor, take the mouse, please, and that again, that fourth little computer icon, and this is and make it video only. Why do I want to make it video only? This will be on the exam today. You do not lay a cutaway in with audio. A cutaway is always video only, whether it be an external cutaway or an internal cutaway. And this is an internal cutaway because you don't want to add any other audio. We've got our audio the way we want it. If I added audio to that cutaway, it wouldn't be the right audio, and it would just alert the audience that something was funky went down. Because remember, your audio cues are always more compelling than video cues, because that's how we are as Homo sapiens. So we've got my in, we've got it out. We made this an audio only edit. Now, because I don't, and the other thing that's important about laying in a cutaway over a jump cut is that you don't want to add any extra time to your timeline. So you don't want to add any extra duration. So you just want to, so instead of putting you could put it on the primary storyline as a video only edit. The only thing though, it would probably take out that audio. It's any other edit system, Avid, DaVinci, they don't have that as a protocol, but Final Cut Pro does. So what does that mean? It means that I'm going to want to put it on the secondary storyline, and that way, remember the video lens looks down through the layers of video. So if I've got that cutaway on the second layer, on the secondary storyline, the lens is going to see that as opposed to seeing what's on the primary storyline. So the shortcut for laying a clip onto the secondary storyline is, Victor, hit the Q key, please. Bingo, there's our jump cut. There's our cutaway. Now let's go back and see how that plays.
We are asked questions like that all the time, and our response is the same. It's vital to the success that we've had in degrading.
Perfect. Just looks like just like you went to an alternate camera angle. And because we did that we call that the 60-minute shift by putting starting the cutaway about 15 frames before the actual audio edit is where the audio edit is. And again, it just kind of sets it just. When the audience sees, they're seeing Jay. They're seeing Jay on this fixed camera, this head-on camera, and what are they going to be introduced to? New visual information. When you introduce to new visual information, what happens? It almost literally blocks your hearing, because visual information always trumps audio information when your brain is processing it. Remember we said about if it's a woman, weather person, you go from the anchor to the weather person, the first 6 words she has, we don't hear her what she said, because we've got new audio information and new visual information at the same time. So she could have said, there's a tornado 5 seconds away, and all you're going to start seeing is, oh, why does she wear that black dress? Or, oh, she's a few pounds overweight, or, oh, I like her hair, or whatever. You always start judging right away. And it happens you know, with a guy, it's less severe, you know, but the moment that you're introduced to new visual information, you're not going to hear, you know, it just takes away from the oral information, the audio information. So again, you know, because we're seeing him,
that all the time in our response.
new visual information,
Success that we've had
boom.
in degrading Al Qaeda and by we I mean collectively with our partners, and that effort continues.
There we go. So that's what type of cutaway? Internal. Very good. That's the internal cutaway. So if I just highlight this again, I'm just going to delete that, and I'm going to go back and do the same deal. I know that. There's the edit right there at 41. I'm going to go back to 4015, do the same drill. And this time, I'm going to go get my former colleague, Jake.
It's been a focus of ours, and that's why
So Jake does this. He goes into his pocket to get his phone or whatever. Again, it's a nice little decoy, nice little diversion. So, you know, edit on action, you know, so just as he's about to pull out his whatever, that's where I'm going to start the edit. And again, I can even match it with the delay. Remember, we're 15 frames before the actual audio edit. So I'll go, you know, if he's going to start doing it there, I'm going to say that that's 48 or 08 straight up, and then I'm going to go back 15 frames. Even though there's a little movement, that's okay though. And that's where I'm going to mark the edit in right there. Let it play across. Let 1001.
And we talked about for a long time about how
2002, boom, and that'll be my out. Nice little. He finishes again. So the same drill. Hit your Q key, please, and there we go. So again, we're looking at the stick cam. We got him head on.
We are asked questions like that all the time, and our response is the same. It's vital to the success that we've had in degrading.
And there you go.
Al Qaeda.
Again, you never know that was an audio edit was made there because you're totally taken away. So that's an external edit external cutaway because you totally go away from the subject of the jump cut. Okay. So you guys, all of you have done lab number 3. So you're good to go. So you only have one more lab. And the deadline the clock will start on that next Thursday.
Did you get my text about the
I'm sorry.
Did you get my text about the
Yes.
I sent my email. I don't know if you got it.
I put it back to because it's on Blackboard.
Are you sure? Because that tab's not on.
The lecture module. On
I don't see that. The lecture module thing. I don't see that.
Yeah, I see it.
Is that on for 2902?
It was, but it's not.
Oh, okay, my bad. I'll have to check that. I'm sorry. So you haven't accessed. Well, I know we did it in lab, but you guys weren't able to study that.
No.
Study what?
You weren't. Yeah. Okay. Tell you what we're gonna do then. So we won't have the lab. We won't have the midterm today. We'll have it next week. Okay. And that way I'll be able to I'll make sure that lexicon list number 2 is on the. As a matter of fact, I'll hand it out today while we're doing. Okay. Before you go. So what we're gonna just do one other thing today, and that way you'll be ready for the midterm next week because there were a few things on the midterm that we hadn't gone over. So if you go back to your seats, if you're not already in your seats, we're going to just go over that, and then that'll be it today. And then I'll wait a few minutes, and I'll make copies of lexicon list number 2 for you, and that'll be it, okay? And then you guys will take the midterm next Thursday.
Right. So we're gonna take it next Thursday?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. You're in the class. I mean, I wouldn't make you take it today and let everybody else not take it. So yeah. So it'll be next Thursday. So what I wanted to go over today was that there were a few questions pertaining to a reporter package that we didn't really go over too much in class. So I want to go over that before we, and then I'll give you a copy of lexicon list too, and I'll find out what's going on with the with Blackboard.
You write down, huh? Sure.
Yo,
News.
why you looking at my shit, man? I write shit down.
Oh, dude, it's all
I
on
told
too.
you. You didn't want to look at it though. I showed you that shit.
What are you talking about?
Tuesday.
What are notes?
Sure.
I'm looking at notes.
Yeah.
Alright.
I'm saying I had it. You don't want to look.
Madison, thank you for pointing that out.
I just-
It's weird that,
You don't ever know.
I'm sleepy.
I was actually not. No. After the meeting. Right?
Go ahead, share one.
That's for sure.
So
I'm not.
the preliminary is just only five.
Oh, yeah.
So,
You're in the chat.
Oh, okay, we're literally saying the same thing.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, I forgot technology. Because I'm back in high school.
Yeah.
That's why I wrote that shit the other day. It was actually, you know what it was?
What?
It was your recommendation.
Was it really?
Yeah, what I do it.
Like, all you gotta do is just talk me up for a couple minutes.
What's the
Solid.
end state though?
Just
Like
be
why?
like, I'll just be like, yeah, you know, I know we have.
But why? I wanna know why.
Yeah. Like, why?
Yeah, like what's the
To
end
make
state?
me look good, that's all.
For what though? To get a position? To do what?
No, it's like, you know, cool points.
Oh, stroke your ego type thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Just cool points, that's it. I don't want anything extra.
You're gonna get something extra. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
So, okay, well, then I don't know. Just do, all I'm not saying you have to say a whole paragraph. Just be like, yeah, Brandy was instrumental.
Was like this.
Bam, that's it. That's it. It's got like one little sentence. Yeah, Brandy was instrumental. That's it. Not too much, not too little.
It'll be like running the whole show.
That's not true. You know.
Buenos tardes!
Wait, what's all this?
No, yeah. I want to see Narcos.
Oh, I watched that.
You're behind.
As those in front of the president.
I have one more episode left, and I'm done with the season already.
The look and feel of
I don't like.
Yeah, you're ready to go home.
No, actually.
I drink some beer.
I'll do it some. 3, 2, 1.
I wish I could sit in bed.
About the people thought.
But I don't wish that.
Yeah, that's snoring.
so when is it?
so class, if you look at the script, and these are things, these answers, what I'm gonna tell you will be, on the midterm exam. So we had kind of referred to this, this piece, and this will be your, assignment, lab assignment number 4. So this will be your final lab assignment, and as we talked about before, the final lab assignment is putting this package together exactly the way I did it for ABC News, and the script, all the media will be on Blackboard under under the assignments and exams tab, just like your homeworks, and this script will be part of the assignment. That this will be posted as well, and you'll be utilizing this script to be able to follow, be able to follow, to be able to put the package together. That's what I'm trying to say. And so the first thing that you'll notice now, when you put the package together, you're going to put the package together by starting right here. not up here. So this is where the package actually starts. And notice, so this is what we call a suggested intro. And that is what Karen wrote. And the reason why she writes that is because this is a package that's going to be aired by all of the ABC affiliates. And there are approximately 221 ABC affiliates, just like NBC and CBS and Fox, probably to the same extent. They have all of them, each one of them have approximately 200 to 220 some of television, TV station affiliations across the country. So Karen writes, or the writer for the show would write this suggested intro, and this is what the anchor at whatever local news operation decides to use this piece, and it's usually an affiliate of ABC, or if it's not, it's a station that has contracted with ABC to provide news clips, reporter packages, and news material. So Karen writes this suggested intro regarding President Obama traveling to Puerto Rico. Now this format, and this is I want you to make note of. This is what you might say an official format. This is a professional reporter or a news script format. This is how it's done. You have your copy on the right hand side, and you can acquire software that will actually allow you to do this. Now, my former colleague, dear friend Myra Green, was the producer on this piece, producer/writer. And so she actually would have had, and Karen, who's the reporter, and you can see there's Karen Travers, they would have had this software on their workstation. And so they would have to kind of go through a lot of changes in order to be able to configure this document this way, because it would automatically do it. So it's automatically going to, the tab is automatically going to start in the middle, just like it says, with a middle tab, even though it says it's a left tab. And she could start writing the intro. And again, so this intro is 2, 4, 6, 8, about 10 lines. 10 lines is about 30 seconds worth of copy. And that's just too much copy. That's too long for an intro. So what I would, if I'm the writer at one of the local stations that's going to use this piece, I'm going to write that down. I'm going to edit that and condense it and make it a little more conversational. But the outro, the last thing in the intro is usually going to be the anchor on the news set saying, and ABC's Karen Travers has files this report, or has this report, or has more on this story. And then of course the director in the control room, he's got the video, the person that's acting as the video switcher. The director's going to say, stand by the roll. So let's say we call the video package is on playback 1, which is now would be a server. So the director's going to say, stand by the roll, playback 1, and when he hears the cue saying ABC's Karen Travers has more, on the word more, he's going to say roll, playback 1, and then track it, take it, or take it, track it, and then what happens is that the spot is going to come up, and I've got the spot. Where's my spot? I've got my spot here. Oh, yeah, it's right here. So if we look at the spot, and I can actually even show you, which is interesting. I was looking for. I have a YouTube channel, and I was looking for this package on my YouTube channel. So I put Obama in Puerto Rico in the search window, and this is the actual story. This is the actual event that day. So notice how President Obama starts this piece.
Buenas tardes.
President Obama's.
Oh, that's actually my package. So let me see. Here it is. This is the actual piece. This is the actual footage from that event. There you go.
Buenas tardes. It is good to be back in Puerto Rico.
So that's the actual event. That's how it actually went down. Notice how we edited it on the package.
Buenas tardes.
President Obama's
What happened to it's good to be back in Puerto Rico? I made an edit. Why did I do that? Now, and let me show you the script. The script actually had him saying it the way that he actually said it. That's the second part of it. So in the actual script, this is, again, so the first thing I want you to remember is that, and this will be on the exam, is that him opening that package, or the fact that we had an actuality opening the package, what is that called? A cold open, very good. And what is a cold open? A cold open is when you have an actuality to start a reporter package before you ever introduce the reporter's voiceover. So the first thing in the package was him saying Buenos tardes, and so that's a cold open, and that is literally the answer to the question on the exam. That's the definition of a cold open. So in the cold open, we had him saying it the way that he actually said it in reality. It is good to be back in Puerto Rico. But notice that when in the actual edited spot, I took that out. So why did I take that out? So that brings us to the next question that we hadn't gone over. And so you're going to want to make note of this. And that what happens is that what we do when you're putting together here's the question, here's the answer, here's the statement on the quiz. When an editor chooses to assemble all the audio in a reporter package before wallpapering the video B-roll, and wallpaper means that you're going to lay in the B-roll over the voiceover. We call it just a shortcut, or a nickname, or short cut, we call it wallpaper. It is called. Now the answer to that is there's two possibilities. When as an editor, when you decide to assemble all the audio, and you're not just kind of laying it down you're spacing it just as if you wanted to air as a radio cut or a radio piece. So you're going to lay in all the audio, all the actualities, just the way that you would want it to air. The only thing that you're not doing is that you're not laying the B-roll over the voice tracks. And we call that either a package skeleton, just like skeleton, a package skeleton, and the other term that we can use is a radio cut. And you can see why we call it a radio cut. Now, why do we do a package skeleton or a radio cut before we finish the entire package? Well, we do it for this reason. Whether this package is going to air at the network level or whether it's going to air on a local level. Remember what type of back timing is when you do a macro back time. What is it that you're trying to do?
You select an element of the compilation to time, so not the whole thing.
Well, that's a micro back time.
Oh, a macro is like the whole thing.
Exactly. Yes, that's very good, Madison. Well, and this is coming right off the exam. A macro back time is when you're trying to back time an entire, when you're trying to back time or trying to get an entire program like a newscast off at a certain time on the clock. So if a newscast starts at 6:30 and you need to get it off the air by say 6:58 and say 30 seconds, that is a macro back time, an macro back time. A macro back time is when you're trying to get an entire program off the air at a certain point on the clock. So the newscast starts at 6:30, and then you need to get it off at 6:58 and say 30 seconds. Even though we consider that to be a half-hour newscast, it's really only about 28 minutes and say 30 seconds. And even within that 28 minutes and 30 seconds, there's only really about maybe 22 minutes worth of news because you've got two-minute commercial breaks. You've got about 30 or 40 seconds for the opener of the newscast, and then you've got maybe another 20 seconds or so to close the newscast. And so when you add up all of that leaves you with about 22 minutes of actual news. So why did we do a radio cut or a skeleton package? Why do we want to assemble all of the audio together before we actually go back and finish the package? And I was about to say, so whether it be a local newscast or a network newscast, the senior producer of that newscast, which is responsible for that show getting on the air at the right time and getting off the air at the right time, has to do what? They have to time every element in that show. Whether it be the open, they've allotted 40 seconds for the open, they've allotted, this package, I was allotted a minute 50. So every element is going to be timed out. So every element in the show has a certain TRT. What does that stand for? TRT, total running time or duration. So Myra, who was the writer producer for this piece, she allotted me as the editor a minute and 50 seconds. So when I assembled all of the audio, and it came in at 2 minutes. She's allowed me 150, but when I strung all the audio, including the close, the stand-up close, and I'm going to show you that, it came in at 2 minutes. Now what do I have to do? When I finish that radio cut or that skeleton package, I'm going to go back to Myra and I'm going to tell her what my running time or what my TRT is. And I said it's 2 minutes. And my nickname is Rick. So she's going to say, sorry, Rick, I'm fat today, meaning there's a lot of news going on. The show's already, hyped. I can't give you 10 seconds. So what is she going to want me to do? Take out 10 seconds. And that's so one of the first obvious edits that I made in order to take out that 10 seconds was, instead of having President Obama say that what he actually said at the top, which was Brandon Stardies, a little applause, it's good to be back in Puerto Rico, I just had him saying Brandon Stardies with a little applause. And that saved me about 5 seconds. So let's go back to the package, and I'll show you where I made another edit.
And the skeleton package is just you layering the audio?
Yes, it's just assembling all the audio that's associated with this package before you go back and actually put in the rest of the video. So now if you notice that the first soundbite.
Brief visit had the.
And we talked about the dialectical montage and all the news repackages. All the newscasts is basically a series of dialectical montages, primarily associational or intellectual montages. That's what a news package is.
Buenas tardes.
President Obama's brief visit had the look and feel of a campaign swing.
What?
Now, if I go back to my script here, now this is the first soundbite, and this kind of brings us to what do we call, a soundbite is a type of actuality, and this is coming right off of your exam. So you can call a soundbite a soundbite. You can also call a soundbite SOT. That's also another name for a soundbite. If you wanted to be a little back in the day, you want to kind of be old school, you could say SOF. What would SOF stand for? You have what would SOF stand? Sound on film. Sound on film. And I know you get tired of me saying this, but when I started in television, we literally were using film was the news medium of the day. So, instead of having tape, you actually had all these reels of footage that were the news packages on reels. And that my first job in television was actually, putting a film reel on a projector. which was going to be shot by a camera, and that's how I got out on the air. So that, you know, so you can call a soundbite, you can call it an SOT or SOT, you can also call it an SOF, and you can call it an actuality. Any one of those four terms would suffice as to what is a soundbite. So notice that in his first soundbite, the way that we had it scripted, President Obama says, when I ran for president, I promised to include Puerto Rico, not just on my itinerary, but also in my vision of where our country needs to go. And I am proud to say that we kept that promise too. So that's what he actually said in that event. I mean, in his real speech. So let's see what we said, what happened here.
When I ran for president, I promised to include Puerto Rico, not just on my itinerary, but also in my vision of where our country needs to go.
The nearly 4 million
No, so what happened? I made an edit because the actual out of that soundbite was, and I'm glad that I kept that promise too. So what did I do? I had to get rid of 10 seconds. She had me in for 150. I came in when I did my radio cut or my package skeleton. The TRT was 2 minutes. I had to get rid of 10 seconds. So I took out something out of the cold open. I just had him saying "Buenas tardes" as opposed to saying "it's good to be back in Puerto Rico." And there I got out at when I ran. I said we would bring jobs to Puerto Rico, and I got rid of the back half of that first soundbite in the package. And there was pretty much my 10 seconds. So between those two edits, I had gotten down to where she wanted. Again, so the next thing that I want you to make note of that will be on your quiz is that how do you time? We know that you're going to want to determine your TRT, your total running time. Well, how do you go about determining your total running time? A total running time, or the length or the duration of a reporter package, or any element of a program, whether it be a newscast or whatever, you time it from, and this is literally the answer, you time it from first audio to last audio. First audio to last audio. The dirty little secret is that whether it be, television or streaming or whatever it is, most media is still radio with pictures. Why? Because when we talk about the length of a clip, the duration of a movie, we're doing it from timing it as from first audio to last audio, as opposed to first frame of video to last frame of video. First of all, in the reporter package, the first second is just padded. So if I timed it from the first frame of video, it would be off because that's not actually going to get on the air. And then, of course, you also put about 1 or 2 seconds of pad at the very end of your package. So any segment in media, whether it be from a streaming service, Netflix, whether it be the networks, everybody, you always time a sequence, a reporter package. You time it from first audio to last audio, not first video to last.
So when you say padding, because I noticed, because I remember that she said that you gotta cut 10 seconds off.
Mm-hmm.
But wouldn't that be considered your padding?
No, that was just that was actual material in the package that was going to air that we had to get rid of. So that 10 seconds was a part of the overall 2 minutes that my TRT was when I determined that, and I determined that by the first word he says is Brandon started. So the very first syllable of Brandon started, I would have marked that as my end. Then I would have gone all the way to the end of the package, and the last word in this package is Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington. So when she finishes Washington, that's my out, and then I would have determined between the in and the out is my duration or my TRT, and that happened to be 2 minutes. And the producer had put me in for 150, which means I had to get rid of 10 seconds.
So what would be considered padding?
Pad, good question. Here's Pad. Let me take you back to the top of this package. Boom. Now notice that this is pad. Pad is up, and I've got about a second and a half of pad. And notice how long before you actually hear sound. And the first thing you're going to hear is the audience, the sound of the audience. See, that's pad. And why do we need pad? Because remember that intro, that suggested intro. Well, the anchor in whatever news station airs this package, they're going to read an intro to the package. They're going to say President Obama and his one of his first early campaign trips for re-election traveled to Puerto Rico. ABC's Karen Travers has more. On the word more, you the director, you're going to say tell Leon roll playback one, and that takes about a second for you to say roll playback one, take it. And that's why we put a second of pad at the top, because that second of pad is in the process of rolling, and so it's not going to get on the air. It's basically not going to get on the air. What's going to get on the air, what we want to get on the air, is the first. Actually, my cue for what gets on the air. Notice how he takes his hand out of his pocket.
Buenas tardes.
I'll take it back. So what I did was, when I saw that,
It's Ken.
Buenas tardes.
So when I saw that and he raised his hand, that was my cue. That was when I said, okay, that's the first thing I want on the air is him taking his hand out of his pocket. So anything before that I included would be pad. Okay.
President Obama's brief visit had the look and feel of a campaign swing.
When I ran for president, I promised to include Puerto Rico, not just on my itinerary, but also in my vision of where our country needs to go.
The nearly 4 million island residents are.
Remember I said, now again, when we talk about dialectical montage, why did I use this shot? Remember, remember this will be on the midterm. Theses versus antithesis equals what? Synthesis. Theses versus or plus versus, those two things come together. Theses plus antithesis, which is the opposite of theses, equals synthesis. And which also can be called what? A new idea. A new idea. You can say it's a synthesis. It's the result of theses and antithesis coming together is synthesis, or also considered a new idea. Where's that new idea? In the mind of the viewer. So here in this package, well, we can say that Karen's her track is the synthesis.
Just on my itinerary, but also in my vision of where our country needs to go.
The nearly 4 million island residents.
So she says the nearly 4 million island residents, and then what do you see? You see a person, looks like could be an island resident, and then she says, are U.S. citizens.
Are U.S. citizens.
Are U.S. citizens. And well, she's got an American flag in her hand. So again, so if Karen's track is the thesis, if her script is the thesis, what's the antithesis? This video. Now is it clashing? Is it like two particles coming and colliding? Not necessarily, because I'm mainly supporting what she's saying. Because that's the indication that but in a dialectical montage, it's always doesn't necessarily have to be a clash. It's just a coming together, which is we call remember one of the terms on the lexicon list was what? Juxtaposition, and this will be on exam. What is the most basic juxtaposition when we talk about media?
Video and sound.
Exactly. Image to sound or video to audio. The most basic juxtaposition is image to sound or video to audio. So again, her if you want to call her voiceovers the theses, the image that I selected, which is the young lady with the American flag, that's the antithesis. And those two things come together. So somebody at home, where the new idea is created in somebody's, mind, they're going to say, okay, she looks like a citizen. She's holding a little model of the American flag. But check out this next line. Check out Karen's next line.
But they can't vote in the general election.
But wait a minute, they can't vote?
But you shows servicemen.
Mm-hmm.
President Obama's brief visit had the look and feel of a campaign swing.
When I ran for president, I promised to include Puerto Rico, not just on my itinerary, but also in my vision of where our country needs to go.
The nearly 4 million island residents are U.S. citizens, but they can't vote in the general election.
Boom. But they can't vote in the general election. So here, now, her again, if her voiceover is the theses, but they can't vote in the general election, what's the antithesis? You say, wait a minute. Yes, they are Puerto Rican citizens, and they're soldiers. They could fight. They could die in Iraq. They could die in Afghanistan. I think we talked about this before. And you're telling me that they can't vote in a general election? That's bullshit. So what's the new idea? That's bullshit. Somebody at home would say, wait a minute, that's not right. So again, you can see those two ideas coming together and forming what? An intellectual and indeed an emotional response. Because you can see someone getting very upset by that reality, by what she's reporting. And indeed that is true. If you live in Puerto Rico, yes, you are an American citizen. You could be a soldier. You could fight and die for your country. But if you live on the island, you cannot vote in a general United States election. Now check out what happens next. And we talked.
Election.
Boom. I use that now, and I remember I said that this is called a nat bridge. You take a little bit of natural sound from some clip. And obviously it has to be a clip that's right for the story. So what happens is now she's going to be talking about the 4.5 million Puerto Ricans that live in the United States. All you have to do is take a flight from San Juan to New York, stay in New York about 6 months, and boom, you're automatically become a citizen. You've already been a citizen, but now you can vote in a general election. So what did I do? I used, and I think I used the analogy of like if you go to a nice fancy restaurant and you've had, which has multiple courses, and you've had the first course, maybe it's soup, maybe it's like a French onion, it's a little spicy, and then before you get to the second course, the waiter will give you a little cup of sorbet to cleanse your palate, so that you're not still tasting the French soup when you go to your second course. So this is pretty much what I did here. He was talking about the Puerto Ricans that actually lived in Puerto Rico in the first paragraph, but now we're talking about Puerto Ricans that live in the United States. So I use this little nat bridge as like a palate cleanser to kind of cue the audience. Well, wait a minute, we're going to be kind of talking or changing the subject a little bit. So you can do that when you see that you've got two paragraphs that are kind of going in different directions from the standpoint of their intent, of their meaning. If you have something that works, you can utilize a little nat bridge between the two voiceovers.
4.6 million Puerto Ricans living in the 50 states can, making this trip as much about the people thousands of miles away.
Now, I should have stayed on that. If I take it back a little bit, I should have stayed on the parade.
This trip is much about the people thousands of.
Because what's going to happen here is the camera's going to tilt up to the Puerto Rican flag and the American flag, and they're going to be framed by the it looks like it was a relatively gray day, so they're going to be framed by that white sky, and which would have made a nice transition because and that would have definitely been much more of a dialectical montage. Again, what juxtaposition of what she's saying to what you're seeing, theses versus antithesis. But what I did, and looking at it now, I said, wow, I should have done that.
Miles away.
As those in front of the president. I went back to Puerto Rico because now she's talking about the people that are actually in front of the president in this event. Why? So what is that? Why is that a problem? It's all, it's subjective. It's not like I broke the law. It's just that it's not as dialectical as it could have been. This is too literal. I was kind of dumbing down or kind of playing down to the audience as if they wouldn't get the more symbolic interpretation. So sometimes you have to remember that. But now what happens coming out of this, and it would have been a much more an emotional, a much more compelling transition, because what's coming up now is the second soundbite is by a lady.
As those in front of the president.
Boom. Now I do an L cut. Remember in Hollywood they call it a J cut We call it an L cut. What's an L cut? An L cut is when you introduce new audio before you introduce new video. So, we're going to stay on the shot of President Obama for a beat, but we're going to introduce the first words of the lady's soundbite. Puerto Ricans, and then I transition to her. And by doing that, again, we're not judging her right away because we heard her voice before we saw her.
4.6 million Puerto Ricans living in the 50 states can, making this trip as much about the people thousands of miles away as those in front of the president. Puerto Ricans are...
See, it's so much easier to remember what she said when you don't see her. When you don't hear her and see her for the first time at the same time.
It's a very significant and important community politically in the United States, particularly in New York and in Florida.
Nearly 900,000 Puerto Ricans live in Florida, middle-class swing voters in Orlando and Miami that have close ties to the island. Puerto Rico's Republican governor said these voters once again will be critical on election day.
In our community,
Again, I did an L cut. We heard it before we saw him. In our community,
in the Hispanic community, showing up is half the game. And I think the president understands that.
The recession has hit Puerto Rico.
again, a dialectical montage. We're talking, Karen is talking about how the recession, this is back in 2011, how the recession has hit Puerto Rico. So what am I showing? I'm showing a downtown retail commercial, street, one of their main commercial streets there in San Juan.
Go hard. The unemployed.
Now this is dialectical because but it also has some irony in it because these were at the time and still to this day, these were the two youngest presidents. When John F. Kennedy became president in '61, he was the youngest president at that time. When President Obama came exactly 50 years later, he was the youngest president at this time. So again, there's this connection, and we also know the kind of image that these two, very young or youthful presidents had in terms of how the public perceived them. And so again, there's this kind of ironic connection that kind of makes this somewhat dialectic, even though it really has nothing to do with what Karen is saying, because here she's talking about unemployment.
Employment rate on the island is nearly 17%. Among Latinos in the U.S., unemployment stands at 11%.
We are going to put people back to work here in Puerto Rico and all across America.
Every 4 years or every 2 years, they come and they say they're gonna do stuff, but I think it would be better if they actually do it.
The issue of Puerto Rico.
So this is the stand-up close, and this is the last thing that we had not gone over. In a stand-up close, and this is coming right off of the midterm, a stand-up close is basically a summation of what you just previously heard, and with the reporter on camera. A stand-up close is a summation of the package that the reporter is presenting on camera. That's a stand-up close, and the other key thing is that it comes at the end of the package. We call it a stand-up close because it comes at the end of the package. If we had it in the middle of the package, and sometimes you see that. What kind of show have you seen where the reporter starts the package normally with voiceovers and actualities, but at some point they come on camera, to kind of further along the explanation of the story.
Wait, news commentary?
Or how about 60 Minutes?
Yes.
Whenever you see, those are generally longer packages. The long, pieces on 60 Minutes are anywhere from about 7 to even 10 minutes long. And invariably in one of their packages, at some point, even though it's the typical format of, what is the format for a reporter package? An actuality at the top, which would be a cold open, but you don't have to start every package with a cold open. So normally a package starts like this. This one did start with a cold open, but normally it's opening track, soundbite, opening track, soundbite, on and on until you get to the end of the package. This one happened to open with actuality. But if you go opening track, soundbite, opening track, or second track, soundbite, and then at some point you actually bring the reporter on camera in the middle of the package, that's called an on-camera bridge, Now, because this is at the end of the package, this is a stand-up close. A stand-up close is the reporter on camera summarizing what has just been previously reported in the package.
Rican statehood continues to divide the island. President Obama said today his administration would support whatever the people decide. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
1001, 1002, 1003. So again, you see that I put pad at the end of the package. Because what happens at the end of the package? The out cue is Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington. What's happening in the control room in that TV station? The director has to say, stand by to go back to camera 1 or camera 2, which is what? The anchor back in the studio. And so if you're directing and Leon is your TV, you're going to say, stand by to go back to camera 2. When Karen says ABC News Washington, you're going to say, take camera 2, track it, meaning telling the audio person, make sure the mic's open. Track it means make sure the mic open. And that takes about, what, a second. So that's why you need a second pad at the end in order to make, so you don't do what? Go to black before you go back to the studio. So that's basically all the stuff that we hadn't covered for the first half of the semester. So I'm going to get copies of the lexicon list, and that will be it for today, okay?
Thank you.
And you guys have done lab 3.
Yes.
You get an A on lab 3.
Yay.
Let's see what you get on lab 4. Oh, by the way, with lab 4, you can work in groups to put the reporter package together, okay?
Okay.
So if you want to work in groups, you can do that. And then, I'll let you, we'll talk about it next week when you do the exam, but the clock will start on lab 4 next week.
What does it do? When is left for do?
It's left for the final.
Dr. Reese, is lab 4 our final?
Yes, your lab,
When
your
is it
final
due?
lab.
When is it due?
It'll be due probably around December 8th, something like that. I'll give you 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh. But is it?
But so we just gotta put something good out for it. Like the footage is kind of.
Maybe
I said about who's already cool
I'll put it back.
drive.
Okay, what is it?
What did Rakesh, so did you finish and Rakesh was giving you something? He gave, did you finish them?
I don't know for sure, but if y'all want to do it today, so that we don't.
You mean a pitch deck?
We went through that.
Yeah, that's a pitch deck, it's not a drive.
And then this pitch back.
Going practice.
And then I can put it.
What?
I'm down. I'm still down.
I'm gonna ask. What if he's like, no.
What if it's been taking all
You had one.
When's the ceremony? When's Vanessa's ceremony?
The 16th. The 15th is
So I'm saying is to create.
a rehearsal
Oh wait, this one, next
next month.
And that's what, folders.
So you can help
Thank you.
Vinny with the camera if you want, so that you can say you put your name to the back.
And so locally parts of Comm.
They have other
Yes,
things.
yeah.
They're doing other things. There's like the anchor and like.
Everything in
But there was
up
no
to
reporter
today,
for like the commission.
today and
So.
everything. So,
That's pretty
you know, just make sure you
Yeah,
know all
like I
that
would
stuff
feel
about,
bad if like I was like I
Sounds
just
like you
didn't do
worked
it, you know,
hard,
because they'll raise their hands. I'll-
Yeah. Okay. And then later, we'll go that production.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's done a lot, you know. Thank you. Oh, I got 2.
Okay, guys, that's it for today. I'll see you next week, and next week we will have the midterm
And
exam.
then, so that's gonna create a folder, and then put everything in there, so your pitch deck, your script, your treatment, everything that you have done for the film, put it in there. That is a no, that's
Yeah.
she means focus for
All right.
Was it already due?
Studying the last minute.
I don't know if you need it.
Yes.
Except for.
I'm not in your class, I'm in your community. Is it past due? I don't know what you're saying.
So your work.
Are you work? Okay, so you're asking me will he still accept work, but I'm not in your class. So I wouldn't know what you need unless you talk to me, because you're still, because the class is still going on.
I give you all.
Is the binder past due?
So like, we have an event next week.
I'm sorry?
We have like an event next week, so I was wondering if we could take our test like today.
Okay,
instead of
but
next week.
usually the.
Oh, you want to take it today?
Yeah, can
We
you?
can't come
Sure.
in next week.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
The binder.
No, I mean, absolutely.
The story, everything you don't know.
Yeah,
So,
You know,
either click here, and you can upload files. So you can upload the files and you drop this link.
you look at the
And
calendar
then you
and
send
we
her
have accomplishments.
Oh, okay, no
the
problem.
folder itself, and it's gonna, so the binder is just.
See, I knew that, so you just, I knew you were gonna have a conflict.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
That's why I scheduled today.
Yeah, get it over with.
Smart.
Yeah, so everything, so treatments, storyboards, pairing, from breakdowns, pitch decks, all that goes in the binder. Cause that's everything, production, all that goes in. File upload,
This is what we're talking about.
and then upload everything. That's the pitch deck. I mean, that's the binder. Okay? You good? You good?
I'm trying to, like, it's got a lot to do, I can't do.
Just upload everything onto the phone, and you'll be fine. The binder is just everything you want to upload is on the place. That's a binder. Okay? You'll be fine. That's all it is. The binder. And then talk to them occasionally if you're confused about something. I mean, talking to somebody else is good, like, and for you, it's better if you just talk to me and get clarification on that, because keep up with the due dates. That's how you know something's due. Okay. You're good. All right. I'll see you then. Bye.
Bye, have a good weekend.